That's the type of shit you don't teach.
I know you in so many ways, so nobody should never complain. Everywhere we go, why it's wrong? Hey! 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 It's okay. I know nothing's wrong.
So, yeah, I should figure it's big, but it's all 36 grams total. Hey, likewise, boss man, likewise.
And we about to scrape the jeans. I'm saying, what you got on? Purple bag Doritos. You know what I'm saying? Go. Open this up for you. Saying we go lettuce, cheese, sour cream, queso, chicken, carne asada, whatever that new chicken. Whatever that new steak is. Rice, brown rice. We got the vinaigrette, man. Come on, man. Take a bite. Saying, no start. That motherfucker like real water. I want to do half and half, man. Damn. You got help, y'all. Yes, sir. Your motherfucker about to be busting too, bro. Appreciate that, my brother. I guarantee this motherfucker about to slap, and we about to scrape the jeans. I let your boy scrape them. Hey, I'm sitting down. Hey, we gotta go to vinaigrette, man. This for bite. Well, they're like damn 50 a bite, but camera on. Huh?
Don't touch me, sir.
It only costs $35, sir.
Punch
This man in the mouth.
Sir, who are you?
None of your business.
And what do you have? Why are you touching me? Don't touch me. This is assault right now. And we'll call the police if you don't like it.
Good. Let's get him down here.
Your son's facing some pretty serious charges, and you seem to be back in business now. In a new place where people don't know you. We'd like to...
Don't you dare attempt to go in my business. Don't you dare. Now you better get your and get it gone before that man gets here.
We'll be calling the police, and you'll be arrested for assault, sir. You just punched me in the
You're
face.
trying to get in. No
Sir,
one
you were holding the door.
No one invited you in there.
And you didn't tell us not to go in either. And you just punched me in the face.
Especially if they're not on your level. There's no reason to even respond.
No, I don't worry. I'll tell you, I'm a man who believed that I died 20 years ago. And I live like a man who is dead already.
Haven't had ass in 3 days. Water supply is going down. It's getting cold. Signing out now. cold.
Camera on.
Gtav Online is an official sponsor of the FIFA World Cup 2026. Buy Gtav Men's product for a chance to win tickets. Watch this.
Best. It, at worst, is the first and only extension of the universe since the show ended in June of 2007. With this film breaking the 14-year drought, it does make you wonder if we might see another follow-up film or TV series in the future.
You need another kid like you need a fucking hole in the head. Oh, what's up there? You think I should get promoted? It'd be so funny if you were this kid the next few generations of fame.
You'll recall Tracy as one of Ralph's forever girlfriends, who appears in a couple of episodes on the show. Tracy was a stripper who worked with the Sting, and one night Ralph beats her to death behind the bit, which is especially awesome because in addition to being really young, possibly as young as 18, she was also pregnant with their baby. Of course, this despicable act likely did aid in Tony's decision to kill Ralph, who of course was a big guy, who are supposed to be untouchable. While murdering Ralph, Tony says the following: "She was a beautiful, innocent creature." This bit on the iceberg suggests that Tony's referring to her as a beautiful, innocent creature while pummeling Ralph to death.
What's your favorite scene? I can't have this conversation again. The wheel that like the system. The crickets. The whale in the house.
The show is considered by most to be the greatest show in television history. Tony Soprano is considered the original and greatest anti-hero of modern television. Without Tony Soprano, shows like Breaking Bad or Boardwalk Empire would probably cease. Also, the show really put New Jersey and the American-Italian stereotype on the map, likely also promoting the pop culture success of the hit MTV show Jersey Shore, which began 2 years after the finale of The Sopranos aired. The actor who played Paulie Walnut in The Sopranos, Tony Sirico, actually appeared in a really bad Jersey Shore TV movie back in 2012 that you probably never heard of, and you probably never could hear of. So, Sirico said that ultimately, David Chase didn't like it. He instead wanted the audience to suffer and never provide closure on the matter. The finale of The Sopranos, Made in America, was the second episode directed by David Chase, the first being the title of the show. The ending scene of the finale is indeed strange, and you can even argue that the title of the scene is dialogue to a diamond, spoken American, private chill and and associated with precisely at Tony's great fun. And of course, it's the It's also widely accepted that the final look of the episode comes to black. So, I'm going to say, well, number one, New Jersey feeling perhaps worse one wonders finally. As the state of Marcus appears, he puts out a couple of attempts on Sylvia's runner's life. The first, while successful, did not fall on deaf ears. The second hit was a success, and in fact takes place during the finale of the show. In which they're constantly reaching for an outlet self-reality, Tony moves on the same line as for the scene of the on the same page cause a lot because when Bob is running to a shadow speculate what the struggle is on. Bob is on the spirit of the time or the work. But he doesn't go further and give Bob the protection to give us that with the head. Well, yeah, the mind of the man doesn't like to get happy. Tony is quick. Bring matters all into the diner and all into the stuff.
And just as a side note, there's an excellent video by Scenic Media that goes a step further and speculates that not only Sony reference, but even Carmella and Asia, due to a ton of totally unnecessary symbolism in the number 3 during the 5-minute diner scene. He also argues Meadow witnesses all of this. Surprise, thus appearing 15 years later in that 2022 Chevy Silverado Super Bowl commercial, where she encounters her brother and they ghost. I know it sounds ridiculous, I know, but I really encourage you to give that video a shot before you go over this, because his breakdown is actually more compelling than you would think. I mean, Chase was actually involved in shooting that commercial, which in my opinion led to I never identified the number 3 on live. Is that generally this crowd a pretty common way to push the fans of camera and creative value directorial situation is not building yet on being fake. Assumes that he's home.
It's like risotto.
Something like,
What's it ever said to me? Well, this is my mail, eh?
but they are in fact very similar. In therapy, Tony has frequently complained to Sophie about his existential crisis. AJ has the same therapy too, but ultimately has a much more difficult time talking to others about his existential crisis. But they are more or less the same emotions, feeling isolated from others, questioning the point of it all, generally being incapable of just being happy, while others are This is a quote that Corrado, Tony's uncle Junior, says in reference to Tony during one of the show. Corrado has always been jealous of Tony's status as capo, or just the respect of generals growing up. So to me, Junior used his status as a father figure to degrade him in a way that comes off as casual because he's his uncle, and he knows Tony is going first. He's hedging that Tony loves him too much from looking up to him for the majority of his life. We also see during the show that he's not car when you barely even insult him. With that being said, not just Corrado, but we see Christopher get away with transgressions too, that just wouldn't fly if it came from a non-staff member.
You don't do something that points to your leadership.
clear that the capital lifestyle Johnny did not learn himself, fostering a strong family dynamic.
David Charles son. He's so vital. Find a way to stay in a peaceful place.
You need something, huh? One of your rides? I'll bring it to you. Okay? I got stuff to do.
Take him down! Asshole! No! What the hell? Shit, man, this is too much! Let's go!
Not sure what the iceberg means here by subtle, but there are many instances in the show where Tony appears to be void of empathy. One scene that particularly comes to mind for me immediately is during a therapy session with Melfi, in which he brags to her about effing Irina, citing her young age and coming off completely unhinged in the process. Or when Furio is crying to Tony about his air quote father passing away, and Tony immediately helps him get over it. And then, of course, followed by the scene immediately afterwards where Tony is falling his eyes out in a therapy session with Melfi. Or when he promises to Vito's widow and family to help financially, but then proceeds to go on his worst gambling binge of his life with that money, rendering himself incapable of helping anyone.
If you get sick or something happens and you can't live, we'll take care of you, because that's part of it.
The man who shot Tony Soprano in the final episode was wearing a jacket that read on the back, Members Only. Members Only is the name of the first episode of the final season. Maybe a coincidence and more to this one, maybe not. For example, in that Members Only episode, this is where Gene, a loyal member of the DeMeo family for many years, takes his own life due to Tony's refusal of allowing him to oblige his wife and move to Florida. There are fan theories that suggest a close party to Gene helped orchestrate Tony's execution and revenge, thus the jacket being labeled after the episode. Members Only generally is defined as denoting a club or society exclusive to members. That scene during Tony's coma, where he sees his cousin Tony B inviting him to join the party, which we can infer is exclusive to the dead, i.e. members only. When Tony and Christopher ask Gene to execute that guy in the diner, is actually a man with the initials TS. The final show of The Sopranos is also a man in a diner, initials TS, who is, we can assume, murdered in the diner as well by a man wearing a members only jacket. So this is absolutely not a coincidence. And again, you know, to this day, the sheer depth to the writing in this show just continues to amaze me.
I'm the Ted Danson who plays Royal Kingdom, and that's the Ted Danson who doesn't. My life is not awesome. Royal Kingdom is a delightful mobile game that never has any ads. Another great thing about Royal Kingdom is that you can play without Wi-Fi. You play without Wi-Fi? Wait, what? Really? That's right, Ted. You don't need to live like this. Royal Kingdom is free to download and free to play. Don't be a sad Ted Danson. Download Royal Kingdom today.
You need something, bruh?
For quite some time, Paulie had been buddying up with members of the New York family, in addition to questioning Tony's decisions, which became more and more dangerous towards the end of the show. So there is a compelling theory that Paulie was the one who orchestrated the friendly fire deaths of Tony Soprano, wherein he would have been in cahoots with Phil, who may have promised aiding Paulie in becoming top boss in New Jersey, or a chance to transition to a prominent role with New York. And of course, there's Paulie's dream in which he sees Pussy in the kitchen and says, "When it's my time, tell me, will I stand up?" I think he's referring to the fact that Tony has made the decision in the past to murder members of the DeMeo crime family if it served his interests. And remember, these are made guys. You can't kill these guys if they're made. Well, Tony kind of ignores those rules, right? As we've seen. Here, Paulie believes that Pussy can see the future given he is in the afterlife. So he is asking him if he will lie down and comply, letting Tony kill him, as Pussy did, or will he instead stand up for himself? There's also that theory that during one of the last moments on the show, where Paulie is having a sit-down with Tony and Butch, and it's kind of a New Jersey, New York sit-down, where obviously there's so much tension in the air, you can cut it with a knife. And we see that Tony is sitting in a very specifically different chair than everyone else. Like it's red, and it contrasts every other chair. We see Paulie shaking hands with New York while Tony's back is turned. So kind of an interesting theory, and yeah, Paulie just may have, in fact, have had something to do with Tony's murder.
What should we do?
Patsy, in addition to the Paulie theory, is actually the number 2 suspect I most commonly see when researching top theories on who orchestrated Tony's death. Patsy's motive is probably the strongest on paper, due to, of course, Tony taking his brother's life. Patsy is also the closest to a main character on The Sopranos that we see attempting to kill Tony at least once during the show, until eventually backing out during this scene.
You're not mad, are you, Daddy?
You're supposed to be.
I love you, Dad.
I know. Not sure if the iceberg is referring to a supernatural element here, but I always did wonder how Meadow, Tony and Carmela's firstborn child, never succumbed to any of the common pitfalls of youth, and had such an innate instinct to do the right thing, despite having a fat fucking crook from New Jersey as a father. There are several instances where Meadow protects Tony from certain deaths, like when Meadow goes out to hang out with some friend that gets hammered drunk, and Tony is helping her into the motel room. Febby, who Tony kills at the end of the episode, makes an organized effort earlier in the day to kill Tony this evening. However, when Febby sees Tony with his daughter, he gets cold feet and decides not to go through with it. Secondly, in the episode Mayhem, during the tail end of Tony's coma dream, Tony is dangerously close to walking into the light, so to speak, but ultimately hears his daughter, Meadow's voice as a young girl, which ultimately causes him to awake from the coma. And then thirdly, in the episode Another Toothpick, Meadow inadvertently gets rid of a lamp that the FBI had purposely planted into Tony's basement. This basement was commonly used by Tony as a safe space to discuss dirty business with guys like Paulie, Papancero, and several others. And then last but not least, perhaps the most compelling bit of evidence that suggests that Meadow is his guardian angel is that during the final scene in Made of America, due to Meadow's failure to park in time to sit beside Tony in the diner booth, which was coincidentally adjacent to the Holston's bathroom, aka Tony's 3 o'clock, Meadow would have protected Tony physically from the members-only jacket's attack. Tragically, though, she wasn't there in time. What makes Sopranos so captivating to me was always its ability to keep the audience engaged, while leaving many events in the show open to one's interpretation. Ralph's character has characteristics of a psychopath, a dumbass, a liar, and hints here and there of actual intelligence.
Come on, I can be on time, but you'll be stupid forever.
This bit on the iceberg suggests that the actor who plays Ralphie was never actually told who killed Pyomai. So in doing so, this actually spared the audience of being able to study the character's body language on their likeliest outcome. Though the leading theory, of course, is that it was Ralph who killed Pyomai, and of course this was something that David Chase openly admitted to during an episode of Talking Sopranos.
Gino, what can I get you? Oh! It's all right, Dougie. Let him go first.
Gino is the name of the character in the donut shop with Christopher. This character only appears in this episode, but it is played by the same actor who would eventually play Vito. A little bit of a weird fourth wall monopoly thing that you'll catch the second
Rolling like a boss.
time you rewatch The Sopranos, or first time if you're observant enough. Gino appears in Season 1, Episode 8, The Legend of Tennessee Moltisanti, while Vito's first episode was not until Season 2, Episode 6, The Happy Wanderer, which is actually my favorite episode of The Sopranos. Little bit of a weird fourth wall, plot holy thing that you'll catch the second time you rewatch The Sopranos, or first time if you're observant enough. Gino appears in Season 1, Episode 8, The Legend of Tennessee Moltisanti, while Vito's first episode was not until Season 2, Episode 6, The Happy Wanderer, which is actually my favorite episode on The Sopranos. This was a Chevy commercial that aired during the Super Bowl last year in 2022. The ad features Meadow and AJ reprising their roles for the first time in roughly 15 years. As alluded to earlier, the Scenic Media YouTube channel analyzes this commercial in great detail to illustrate that the commercial is canon and confirms the notion that Meadow is alive and well, but that Tony, AJ, and Carmela were murdered 15 years ago to this day. I implore you to check that video out. Just to summarize a bit on what he calls out though, Meadow is wearing 3 different pieces of jewelry, each symbolizing a member of her family that's passed away, with the black rectangle onyx being a reference to that controversial cut to black ending, or the end of Tony's consciousness. 2, AJ first appears in the commercial and is shot in the foreground, with a hearse in the background. 3, the way in which AJ is portrayed in this commercial sort of suggests that he's not real, but rather a ghostly manifestation to appear for this fleeting moment. The Scenic Media YouTube channel takes a step further to suggest that he is appearing for Meadow to once and for all move on from her grief, as she is pregnant and needs to move on. Here's why we can assume this. Number 1, during the beginning of the commercial, where Meadow is driving from New York to New Jersey, it is a one-to-one identical opening from The Sopranos opening, except for one crucial detail. Tony passes a funeral, while Meadow passes a playground. This must suggest children in her future. Secondly, she is wearing an engagement ring. We can assume she is married to Patsy's son, or she has a new fling who isn't connected to the mafia at all. Again, big shoutouts to Scenic Media on YouTube. Link to his video in the description. To add to his analysis, there's also a shot that depicts Meadow totally nailing her park job against the curb. So is this a callback to her taking those 3 attempts from way back during, the finale, Made in America? Let me know what you think in the comments. Most of us watch The Sopranos either streaming it on Max, or you may own a physical copy of the series. The show was on air for those 8 years. There are a few very interesting moments that predate 48 over due to concurrent events at the time. Even the case of this scene, where I can't pronounce her name in real life, but it's basically the chick from American History X. She was actually down on set first appeared as the FBI agent in season 3 before ultimately being replaced. Kind of like a lost history trivia. Anyway, after the tragedy events of 9/11, HBO made the decision to remove the towers from the show's opening in perpetuity. Tony does mention the tragedy later in the series, though, so we can infer from this that The Sopranos does in fact take place in our universe, and plots a parallel one where the tragedy never took place. I'm gonna give you 5 mistakes today, but the one that goes from your business is gonna take 5 seconds. I wonder if we can avoid this bot and funnel. See, that would be a very good thing. If you had a bot that could crawl a funnel for you and then make suggestions, it takes a picture of each page, and then just doodles, and then it says like, I think you have a little free shit here, and I can crawl your ad library page that hooks her off you. There's all these different check marks that you have to go through. I wonder if we kind of use your ad like a funnel scan. Yeah, that would be cool. There's so much content out there about entrepreneurship, and that's often good. But often people think that they need to fit a certain mold, and they miss the things that are around them, the family members that can help them, co-founders that might help them build co-founder they don't expect. And it's usually the weird ones, though, that it is a TLC. Like, it's not an ad for you.
There you go, gang. Go ahead and take a moment to breathe.
This is the first book. It's amazing. That's what I think that's for the book. Yeah, I don't know. By the way, I loved about this book, what you start with. Here are some things
makes clear, this fear about you, this strong. Like it's a lot of things, but just simply strong. Honestly, I think it's just a share. I think it moves a lot of people. Plus, I don't talk about it as much because I just, but when I do talk about it, I get the most meaningful messages from talking about it, which is just like lots of things. And so, like the idea that like someone is famous or not famous or has status or doesn't have status, I just so wholeheartedly believe that in 4 generations, like would be forgotten, that no one will care. And I think that just like it just takes a lot of the pizzazz out of like special snowflake, ism, and it takes a lot of the anxiety out of the day-to-day operations of the business, the upside and the downside. And I'd say that I think a lot of people, this is gonna be a little bit of a side quest, but I'll say like I think many people desire emotional or mental stability. I think it's absolutely a prerequisite for being a good entrepreneur because there's just so many fires that come every day, right? And so I think people have difficulty with that because they don't define what it really means. It seems like a very amorphous thing, like emotional stability or mental stability. But what does that mean from like me or perspective? And so I see that there's 3 components to it. So you have I had read before that HBO may initially censor, or at least contemplate censoring, Tony murdering Bethany when it first aired on February 7th, 2019. You have to remember, during a time when an anti-hero to the extent of Tony Soprano was pretty unheard of. A chasing crew were really innovating with pushing the envelope of how much they could get away with without going on those cases. This was a huge risk and may have resulted in ratings tanking or possibly the abrupt end of the show as we know it. Fortunate for us, they continue to innovate and take risks.
Do you consider yourself white? I don't mean white like opaque. I mean white man. I'm a phenomenon. I need to diversify. The oil men are the ones that went wrong. It's the angry American.
To me, the meaning of the title of the finale refers back to the post-ethnic world that Tony and Carmela belonged to in raising a family in 21st century America. We often hear Tony romanticizing the past. Maybe in the good old days during his father's time as number one, before all the neighborhoods lost their Italian identity, back when there was a real need for mothers to cook food for their families and stay home, and back before therapy existed in the capacity that it exists today. If we were to break down a few of these examples in which Tony romanticizes the past he compared to Tony's life during the show, we can identify Tony's issues with modern day society. On the neighborhood front, the old neighborhood lost its Italian footprint because, as we all know, America is a melting pot. Gone are the days of first-generation Italians existing in their own neighborhood. We see New York underboss Butch make this observation in the final episode, where Little Italy is shrinking rapidly before his eyes. We also see Polly and Patsy lament about their Italian subculture losing prominence during differing coffee shop scenes. As far as women cooking for their families goes, Carmela is a character who spent the majority of her adult life being a homemaker, or succumbing to the traditional stereotype that women don't belong in the workplace, and ought to stay at home like Livia and women before her did. Of course, too, with Carm, we see her grimace towards women who branch out from the stereotype and spread their own wings to earn a living, i.e., when Pussy's Tony's wife buys a Corvette with her own money, or even oftentimes being jealous of her own daughter, Meta, when she excels in areas that Carm never bothered to. And then last but not least, of course, the nature of how widespread therapy/mental health has become in the 21st century. Tony spends a lot of time remarking to wealthy that he more or less feels the men of today are crybabies. But every now and then it's revealed to Tony that men have always valued mental health. As you mentioned, Tony, verge of going on a positive streak the rest of his life, considering we can safely assume that A, he wasn't going to be disapproved, and B, he wasn't going to stop using cocaine, and C, if he can kill a horse to make money via an insurance fraud scam. Yeah, in summation, I mean, I think teaching a bulldog usually applies to Red. Dr. Russ Begoli appears in the episode where Carmela goes to look out for her father and you. You'll recall this was during the time when Carmela and Tony were dabbling in the divorce. Anyway, Dr. Russ Begoli is seen here, and in addition to other moments in the show, the internet has pieced together a few odd coincidences that point to a familial connection between the two. Most of these coincidences exist in season 4. It's as if the screenwriters wanted to add a hidden subplot to the scene as an Easter egg for the hardcore fans. These are the facts. Number 1, a few days prior to Hugh's even birthday party, Carmela invites her parents over for dinner. Once Hugh hears that Russ will be in town, he makes a joke about his having crabs during his time with the Navy. Number 2, when Polly's mother goes to truce up her and Polly's relationship as mother and son, his mother relates perfectly detailed to who his father is. She doesn't say anything really before Polly storms off in a fit of rage, but she does relate to him that she was knocked up during World War II by a soldier named Russ. Number 3, they are the only two characters in the show that suffer from prostate cancer. There is a scene in which Polly's doctor actually asks him over the telephone if he's aware of his father, in particular, who suffered from the cancer. Russ reveals to Hugh at Hugh's cookout party that he had his prostate undergo radiation. So yeah, make of this info what you will. An abandoned subplot, or maybe just a fun connection. The showrunners decided to throw in as a harmless nod to the overall world of Sopranos lore. Let me know what you think in the comments.
Baliwa mukama bakolede bingi. Baliwa bakolede bingi.
By far the weirdest scene in the show, and potentially any show for that, would be season 6, episode 9, The Rise. During Pauly's journey on The Sopranos, outside of his normal day job with the crew, there is an underlying subplot to his character that we get glimpses of from the beginning of the show until the end. See, Pauly is obsessed with the supernatural and paranormal. He's constantly waking up from nightmares at 3 o'clock in the morning, paranoid with superstitions here and there throughout the show. Anyway, during season 6, episode 9, Pauly gets into trouble skipping on the Carnival Rides equipment quality, which results in injuries to several young folks. His adopted mother scolds him for this, in which he retaliates and curses her out, leaving her in tears. This is a source of Pauly's anxiety in addition to worrying he is dying internally of prostate cancer. Later that day, he visits the Big and encounters the Virgin Mary herself.